Hello and welcome to the first in a series of webinars. My name is Sophie Jenkins. I am an advanced practitioner in zoological medicine, veterinary surgeon. I qualified in 2008. I have been part of Origin Vets, covering only exotic animals, which it does include the rabbits, based in South Wales, UK, for approximately 6 years. And we have also gained gold status with the Rabbit Welfare Association and Fund. So this series of webinars is to help you understand rabbits a bit more. If you have rabbits, then to give you some new ideas. And also if you're thinking of having a rabbit as part of your family, understanding that rabbits generally do require a lot of work, and if you understand them, they can be very, very rewarding pets. I've had rabbits for many years. I currently have 4. They are rescue lion heads from different rescue places around the UK, and this is worth something to think about if you are looking at getting rabbits. We'll talk about some options of where to go, but considering rescue rabbits, there's over 67,000 currently in rescues, data from 2018, and the Rabbit Welfare Association Fund data. What this does show is that there's a lot of rabbits being bred out there, and sadly a lot that aren't staying in their family homes for one reason or another. Some of that is down to misunderstanding the rabbit behaviour, and hopefully by watching this series of webinars you will understand a lot more and how they can be such rewarding family members. So a couple of rabbit facts first. They are not a rodent, okay? So a rabbit is part of the lagomorph family. It's found in the most areas of Northern Europe, and this does mean it is an animal that could suffer from heat-induced stress. What we mean by that is that its natural environment is generally cooler. Rabbits thrive between around about 8 and 16 degrees. Anything over 20 will start to cause a heat-induced stress. And sadly, if the environment is actually hitting over 24 on a regular basis, even if that's just for 2 or 3 hours, that rabbit could actually sadly pass away from being having a stress event from being too hot. So what this means is when you're setting up your housing for your rabbits, you really want to look at where you are going to place this housing in your garden, or if it's indoors, then making sure that it's in a cool area of the house. In the garden, you don't want it to be in direct sunlight, but equally you need to keep it away from the prevailing wind and rain. So a male is called a buck and a female is called a doe. Most people call the babies kits, or sometimes kittens, up to about the age of 6 weeks. The gestation for a female pregnancy there is 28 to 32 days. And it's important to remember that rabbits can become pregnant again within 24 hours of giving birth. So it's very important to look at neutering for rabbits, and this is something that we'll come on to later in the series. They can have litters between 2 to 8, but the lifespan of most rabbits is between 10 to 15 years, with some giant breeds being closer to the 10. And we do have many geriatric patients that come into our clinics that are over the age of 12, and that they just need that little bit of support and care in their elderly twilight years. So rabbits do live in social groups. These are my 4 rescue lion heads up here: Cookie, Alfie, Strawberry and Bluebell. They live in the wild in warrens, up to 500 to 900 individuals per warren. That is then broken down into little family groups of between 1 and 2 males and 4 to 8 females, okay? Now it's important to understand that within those groups, those animals will have strong bonds and a natural hierarchy between the individuals. And we'll come on to bonding with rabbits and the social aspect later in the series. They are crepusculars, which means they are most active during the sunset and sunrise hours, particularly in the summer from around about 5 o'clock right through until 10, 11 in the evening. I have a camera on my rabbits and I frequently look at it the following day of where they are in the outdoor converted insulated shed. And it's linked to a run as well. I can see several times throughout the evening that they are very active, moving around and going in and out of their run well into 1 o'clock in the morning. And then they start again around about 4 or 5 a.m. in the summer. Remembering they are prey species, so when you're looking at having a vet's practice, have a little think about whether that vet is able to provide the care that the rabbit needs when they're in the hospital. If they've been admitted for neutering or any other reasons, just have a chat with them about what they do to make sure that hospitalisation is the minimum it can be. It's important to note for husbandry, for the owner at home as well, for providing a suitable setups, and we'll come on to that in a moment. So they are a hindgut fermenter and they're coprophagic. What that means is they have an adaptation of the hindgut, and mainly the cecum in the rabbits, which it does the fermentation of the fibre and other nutrition. Coprophagic means that they eat one of their types of feces they produce. They produce two types, that's hard, almost golden nugget colour feces, which is the indigestible fibre, and then they produce the softer, slightly squashed looking like chocolate drops, which they will eat again, and it's an automatic reflex. I'll discuss this further in the next session, which is based on diet. So there are over 305 breeds spread throughout 70 countries in the world. We've got, for example, on here, the giant continental, we've got the lionhead, this is one of mine, and we've got a little Belgian dwarf down here, or Netherlands dwarf, this one. There's a huge variety. So when you're looking at what rabbit you may want to have in your home, remembering again, rabbits are social, that if you like these giant rabbits, do you have space to have 2 or 3 of these in your house? Remembering these guys can easily reach 7 to 10 kilos, whereas your Netherland dwarfs will be between 500 grams and a kilo, and your lionheads, they're more maintenance. They're a small rabbit, but they do require a lot of grooming and care as well. So when we're looking at housing, there's lots of options you can have out there. We have a hutch versus converted sheds and aviaries. Do you have a separate run or an attached run? Do you allow free access in the garden or an indoor cage if they're indoors as well? So what I want to talk about really is the difference. With hutches, you really need to make sure you have an adequate height for the animal to stand up with the ears erect, okay? This is an older photo of one of my rabbits called Molly. She's a lionhead. She's a small rabbit, around about 1.5 kilos. The ears are slightly down in this photo, but if they were upright, she's full stretch on those back legs, and you can see she's easily reaching up to the 3rd block on a wall, breeze blocks, okay? So they do have quite a length on them when they stand up. What that means is that whether they are in a hutch or the run, they need to be able to stand up at any point should they wish to do so. If you're looking at converting sheds, which is, in my opinion, is one of the better options, then they can be expensive to do, but once they're done, you've got an insulated shed for many, many years. Hutches generally just last a couple of years, whereas a converted shed or converted playhouse will last you a long time. And also things like aviaries. Again, you've got the height in an aviary as well, so you can have a sleeping area within the aviary and a huge run as well. Do you have a separate run? The ideal is that a rabbit should be able to run and exercise at any point that it so wishes to do, and therefore having a hutch separately from a run, so you have to physically pick the rabbit out of the hutch, carry it across the run, is not appropriate way of keeping rabbits. Therefore, we really should go for the attached run. Now, there's lots of companies out there that do them. Runaround.co.uk is an excellent example of how to attach a shed or a hutch or an aviary onto external runs and other options as well. Allowing free access to the garden is a really important point for rabbits to be able to do full binkies and runs at full speed. As much as the space you may give them with actual runs, to get to full speed they do need a lot of space. Of course, you must be careful unless you can cover the whole garden in a mesh to stop cats or birds of prey coming in, then make sure you are out with them at any point they're in the garden when they're not in a secure space. They're never to be left without that security, okay? If they're indoors, then what you're looking for really, again, is the same thing. If you're using an indoor cage, really need to look at, is your rabbit able to stand up full length? I'll show you a couple of examples in a moment of different cages and setups. Also, if the rabbit is free range in the house, then you really need to watch your wires. Rabbits are great chewers. They will chew through lots of wires. They'll chew through remote controls and potentially other things as well. So considering cooling off a big area, or giving them an actual room that you could go in and interact with your rabbit being sat on the floor. And again, remembering that rabbits really should be kept in at least pairs. So if you're keeping them indoors, then you need to make sure you've got space for 2 or 3 rabbits inside as well. So should you allow outdoor access? Really, yes. Rabbits will enjoy going outside, they will run around. And again, just remembering the times they're most active. Taking them out at lunchtime is not going to be the best option for them because they're not generally active at that point. Taking them out in the evening or the summer, however, would be a really good time to allow them to enjoy the access whilst being supervised. It's important for vitamin D. The bone is only 9% of the body weight of a rabbit, so very, very low. And in winter, because of the day length, that can actually drop by 20%. However, rabbits are very, very good at absorbing calcium through the guts, okay? So as long as you are providing adequate diet and adequate exercise, your rabbit will thrive regardless of whether it's in summer or winter. So remembering that rabbits do spend a lot of time in their warren. This is a lovely little illustration here, and it just shows that different family groups. You'll have the mums with the kits, you'll have sort of digging tunnels and escape routes, you'll have maybe juvenile groups as well, okay? So they do spend a lot of time in their warrens, and for a pet rabbit, the warren is actually going to be the converted shed or the large hutch or the indoor setup. Remembering, if you're not aware, there is an Animal Welfare Act that was created in 2006 to protect animals' needs. They need to have a suitable environment, which is the place to live. So it needs to be protected, therefore, from the elements such as the heavy wind and rain and direct sunlight. They need to have a suitable diet, and we'll run into the diet aspect of things in the following seminar. They need to be able to exhibit their normal behaviour patterns. So dawn and dusk being the most active times, being able to jump and leap, called binkies, as they go through the different stages of movement throughout the day. They need to be able to lay out and stretch out, and they need to be able to interact potentially with others. And in most rabbits cases, they do need to be housed with another rabbit. They shouldn't really be bonded to things. Cats and dogs, they are, at the end of the day, a rabbit is a prey animal and a cat or a dog is a predator. Some will make good companions, but they really should never be left alone, okay? Which does mean that most rabbits really should be housed with other rabbits that are neutered, and we'll come on to that later in the series. Rabbits also need to be protected from pain and injury and suffering and disease. So this is where you need to ensure that you check your setups on a sort of daily basis, make sure there's no holes developed, and make sure that when you're using things like wiring, that it's strong galvanized steel so that the rabbits aren't likely to pull it, and avoid things like chicken wire as well. They need to be protected then also from access from, for example, foxes in the area, from cats and from birds of prey. Many are still kept in too small a space, and part of that is down to education at the level of the pet shops. Many pet shops will sell too smaller setups, and so part of this webinar series is hopefully to educate people who are looking to purchase rabbits to be part of their family on the best option to do so from the beginning. Too small a space will induce husbandry problems, behavioural problems, and potentially things like obesity and foot issues as well. So onto the rabbits sort of hutch and run area. The Rabbit Welfare Association Fund, the minimum size requirement is 3 meters by 2 meters by 1 meter, which is converted sort of to 10 by 6.5 foot by 3 foot high. Now, this means that the animal can jump and stand with the ears upright. Obviously, this is going to be for the majority of rabbit breeds, but there might be some, such as the giant continental, that may even require a higher height again. The rabbit should be able to stand upright with on his back legs with the ears erect, as we've previously seen. They must be able to do at least three consecutive hops in any direction. What this really means is they need to be able to run around, they need to be able to turn and twist and leap and jump without any constrictions, without any barriers in the way or sharp corners that may cause a problem. By having a 3 foot high, they will be able to do binkies and leap and jump in that way. But to allow a rabbit to really express its true potential and exercise, it needs to have some time in the garden, supervised to make sure things like predators, like birds of prey or cat, don't come into the garden, and to allow that rabbit to really run and to express these natural behaviours of leaps and twists and jumps in the air. They should be able to lay down fully so they can stretch out and should not be constricted. That does mean as well that the number of rabbits you have, you need to ensure that you have adequate space for every rabbit to lay down in a comfortable, dry enclosure so that they can sleep peacefully and rest without being right on top of each other. But of course, many rabbits will cuddle up together as part of their social grooming and social hierarchy as well. This is a picture of one of mine, Bluebell, laying out fully stretched. Now she's a small rabbit, about 1.6 kilo lion head, and you can just see that she's almost 2 foot long laying down there already. Now, if your hutch was only sort of 4 foot long, that's already one rabbit taking up half of that hutch. So you need to bear this in mind, and the majority of hutches out there do not meet these minimum requirements, okay? You'd be much better to do things, as we discussed, like a converted shed or playhouse. Remembering as well that with hides, rabbits do love to hide, they like dark tunnels. Remembering that hides really should have 2 holes, 1 in, 1 out, so that they have 2 exits. They feel safer, and they are more likely to use the hide if they feel safe and secure. Also means if one rabbit's in there and another one jumps in, then one of them can choose to jump back out without having to go straight through the same hole it's just come in. Remembering the slogan of the Rabbit Welfare Association Fund, a hutch is really not enough. This is only a little Netherland dwarf, but you can see how tall this one's standing. And these cages are not going to be adequate even for this size. This one I found being sold on an online website, and you can even see that the rust and everything on there. And people are going to pick up these setups and use them if they're not aware of what to use. So really think about it. This sort of material in regards to the caging wiring is just not going to stand up against a fox, okay? This is really too small even for guinea pigs, let alone rabbits going in there as well. And if we look at the indoor setup, these are all sold for rabbits. Now, maybe if you need to do an urgent quarantine, it might be useful to have one, but this is only for literally a day or two. This is just not adequate enough. There's not space to hop in here. This is one little shelf, and the rabbit can barely stand up, and they're even at the full height. You've got wiring on the floor, not good for their feet. This one has a very steep slope to the second level, which goes straight into the corner. So if you have second levels or more in your setups, which rabbits do like to go up higher, make sure that there's plenty of space to turn at the bottom of the ladder there, and that they're not running straight into sides. But this again, it's just far too small for any size rabbit. So these are some examples. These are all photos from people that have given me permissions from one of the online social media groups. You can just see here multiple rabbits here with the 2 holes for the hide in each hide there. You've got lots of hay. This is an outdoor setup with a huge aviary over the whole lot. So there's plenty of space for running around and binkying. Lots of fresh greenery, lots of hay. Again, another aviary setup here with a shed within it with 2 entrances there. So they've got plenty of space to move around in there. We've got lots of hides, tunneling systems, connection directly with cat flaps are quite good. Rabbits will easily start using cat flaps, and plenty of light. They really do like to sit up by windows to have a little look out. Then just to make you aware of the runaround systems are absolutely brilliant. These are posted on behalf of runaround, just to know that they provide these tunnels and doors, galvanized steel there, which is fox-proof, and lots of ways of connecting different tunnels. Even if you're using indoor setups, you could use this to connect a smaller sort of hideaway, and you can even put a darkened area over the top to create a full-on hide. Plenty of areas for litter trays and running around, with then access coming out, you know, obviously into the rest of the setup as well. Really important to allow rabbits to explore their natural behaviours at any point they so wish. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed the first in our short series for rabbit husbandry and dietary care. If you'd like to follow us, Origin Vets on Facebook, social media, then that'd be wonderful. There will be more webinars, so look out for the Rabbit and Welfare Association Fund on YouTube. And if you want to see what else we do, then you can look on the www.originvets.org website. Thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to speaking with you in the next series as well.